Only Elon.
All right, we're recording. I had to catch some of that, but Dustin's done. Shoot.
We need
It's
that.
probably good.
So we live streaming right now?
We've been live streaming. Now we're recording.
Wait, what? We've been on this whole time? I didn't even know.
The settings are super. Nobody yet. The settings are super limited, which is cool.
So this is just streaming on Skool, not on LinkedIn?
It's just on Skool, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And they have to have an account with Skool to like join and listen in, right?
Yep.
So I wonder how long that takes for people to all kind of just have a standard like Skool account, and these become more easy to access. Like with Zoom, you don't have to have an account. You can just, I guess you have to install the app though, which could be annoying.
Yeah. That's interesting. I mean, window, share screen. You like the infinity?
Whoa! Just had to restart my life.
All right, let me stop sharing.
My gosh.
Hey, Thomas.
Sorry.
It's like the Matrix there. Can you hear us now, Thomas?
I hear you. I hear you
Yay.
perfectly.
Success.
Quality.
Success.
What was the issue?
I don't know. I just restarted my whole machine and now I hear everyone. So I don't know.
Thomas, by the way, you sold your company for $30 to James.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, frick.
Yeah, you said the wrong thing,
Nutcracker. Well, James taking care of it.
We have it all recorded. So
I didn't know who was going to be the buyer. So
Yeah. Well,
I'm
Joe
not
offered 20.
I'm just here to sell. So that's funny.
I was joking with another person yesterday, like, I'll buy your company for $30 because really, then you can put on LinkedIn you're a 1X like founder exit.
Yeah, you can go raise a ton the next time.
That's all you need. You just need the headline on LinkedIn. Like, like if current client crashes, I'm just gonna go sell it to my grandma for $5. Like I got the exit I wanted, right? Like
exited fintech founder.
Yeah,
exited
founder.
Perfect.
So.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to sell one of my other companies now.
Yeah, I'll buy it. Then I can say I'm like, I acquire companies. Yeah, put that on LinkedIn. We could do a really, really good
now we're talking
PR around that.
I was gonna officially start, but like maybe let's just not officially start. Let's just.
I think this was the start.
Let's officially start, Joe. We got to record this for folks,
for posterity. Dustin's selling his company to his grandma for $5. That's big news. All right, welcome everybody to the second episode of the AdvisorTech Book Live podcast. Today we have three fun people, which I think you might already be able to tell. Dustin with current client, James with, I don't know what James is with. He's building too many things. Thomas with
I told
Slant.
you, got a bunch of stuff. WealthTech Select. Let's just go with that. We'll go with one.
WealthTech Select. That's what I put on the image. Thomas is building Slant. I think he's still confused if he's building Pageport, but I think they've settled on Slant, right?
Yeah, it's all Slant. Pageport's here. It runs. We're building Slant.
Nice. All right. So first, getting started. This is the AdvisorTech Book Podcast. I want to talk a little bit about any books you're reading. Just super quick. What are you reading? What are you learning from it? And then we'll get into the main content.
I'll jump in. I know we talked about this for a second before the call, and I said I'm not really reading stuff, but I do listen to audiobooks, and I started one, and I didn't have enough time to finish it, which is ironic because it's called "Buy Back Your Time" by Dan Martell. But I did get some of the cliff notes, and it's definitely been helping me, evaluate how to use my time and really like where you should be relying on others or when it makes sense to pay and outsource to be more efficient. And as someone who's trying to build 3 different software products and run a consulting company at the same time, and I've never built a software product before, my time is precious. And so that's been one of the few things that I've dedicated a little time to outside of actually working on those things.
Yeah, it's good. You have to say no a lot, I'm realizing, which is really hard when you're an entrepreneur because your gift is ideas. So you have to say no to like 99 of your best ideas.
And you want to say yes. That's the hardest part.
I literally wrote a full document on a new app idea last night around like time management. And I was like, what am I doing? Like I wrote a complete PRD, complete technical specs, like a roadmap, like the whole thing. I didn't have the time for it, but I spent like an hour writing this, and I was like, why am I doing this? I have 3 other things that like I'm actively working on. I'm not going to touch this.
So
So I don't know. I
this
had to
is
get
what
it
the
on paper.
CRM of the future is going to be like. It's going to like track your time, see what you're working on, and like slap your hand. Like, stop it, James. Work on this.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe I'll share some of it. Maybe somebody else can build it because there's no way I'm doing it.
There you go. Dustin.
Sorry.
Yeah, so I've been listening to a book called let's see, what is it? The full title is Careless People, A Cautionary Tale of Power, Greed, and Lost Idealism.
Whoa.
So it's Sarah Wynne Williams. She was early at Facebook, and it's a little bit of like, here's all the skeletons that, in the closet from Facebook, and, their early endeavors of trying to grow into other countries. So it's been pretty wild to listen to. I think it's a pretty controversial book, but she shares stories of Mark, and then just going to heads of states across the world, and crazy experiences with Zuckerberg, sort of like being this like teenager kind of personality, talking to these people about like big societal issues, and him not wanting to, but then wanting to, and being like drugged through, streets, by like mafia members. And it's like pretty wild. Yeah. Like it's been fun to listen to. But her big point of like, it's like you had these people with this big company with big societal impact, with like sort of like no regard for like what was happening around, and like how their actions were cascading through other countries and issues. So yeah, a few, about quarter of the way in, and so it's like a little bit of a thriller in a way. So it's been fun.
Do you recommend it?
Probably not.
But still reading it. That's always the moment. It's like, am I going to finish this book?
Yeah, I think I'll finish it. Let me decide, once I get to the end, if it was worth it. But it's very entertaining. Yeah.
Guys, you can buy back your time and not read Careless People. Careless People.
Yeah.
You just feed it their like Perplexity and ask it for the cliff notes, and like
we just saved you $20 in like 4 hours.
Yeah. Exactly.
My wife recently read that book too. We were talking about it a while back. It's it's crazy.
What are you reading, Thomas?
Yeah, most recent 10x is easier than 2x is an interesting business book that I really liked. I think it's like most business books, like the third case study, and you're like, okay, I kind of get the gist here. But I think it's a great example of like, I think it's true. The harder thing, once you really have buy-in and a little bit of momentum, is easier than the easier thing. And so I've loved that. And then I recently finished The Founder. I had seen the movie, but I time to read the book, The McDonald's Story, and it was awesome. Ray Kroc's a crazy person.
Yeah, so James is never going to do more than 2x because he's trying to do too many things, right?
I think I am doing 10x, and actually I like that book, and I think that's a good almost lead in, not to steal your direction, Joe, but like
go for
I think it's almost a good lead in, because that's sort of the point of what like kicked this whole thing off, is that we should be thinking bigger, right? So the article that I wrote, I don't know if we want to, if you want to give your 2 cents on it,
pull it
Joe,
up and screen share, but you can keep talking.
I mean, the short version, and there'll be a longer version for sure, but the short version is that like we should be thinking bigger, right? We should be thinking about solving larger problems. And yeah, maybe I'm just picking on CRMs a little bit here, but we should really be thinking about solving for the advisor's actual issues, and not just in a silo. Like the tools are finally here to do that, right? In the past, it was a big deal. You had to focus a lot more, but now we can really think about tackling everything from communication, prospecting, onboarding, account opening, everything related to, essentially bringing on new business and managing that business should all be done in a singular platform, in my opinion. And having to string together, I saw that tech stack you posted yesterday, like that was nuts. Like that seems completely unnecessary today.
Right.
Right.
Let me read a couple of the lines that you
Go for
wrote. Share screen.
I have
It's the
some
part where we
juicy,
stir the pot.
yeah, I have some juicy ones I want to ask James about too. So
Oh,
Okay.
go for I'm excited for this.
All right. The wealth management industry is having the wrong conversation. I mean, the whole purpose of this podcast is to have the right conversation.
I love that.
While we celebrate AI note takers and debate which CRM integrates best, we're missing the fundamental question: why are we building CRMs at all? Then you talk about these companies raising money, and then we're getting faster at doing the wrong things. I thought that was a good line.
That's a great line. Yeah, because I think what you said, James, is totally right on. Like, if we just keep over optimizing the bad system, we just keep making life harder or kicking a certain problem down the road. It's like, okay, now that I've solved for this nuance, I have another thing to manage. I have another zap that can break. I have another like corner of the universe I have to care about, and a bill that goes up. And I think like it is 2025, and there's some interesting mix. All of us here as builders and thinkers in this industry of like how big of a scope do you make, and then like focus is still probably the most important commodity, but it's just different in terms of it's not like, you know, at one point focus was like go build Calendly or Loom, which is like do one really particular corner of the internet thing super well and build $1 billion company. And now it feels like, how do I like help someone do a huge chunk of their whole job instead of like a little piece of it? And so I think we all have an interesting kind of mandate responsibility to figure out like where's the real impact? Like, what do we have to do?
Yeah. I read, so I don't know if any of you guys know, and I'll probably butcher her last name, but Beata Rouleau. I think Joe Moss. I think you know Beata.
We've talked in the past.
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of her, and she had a post 2 days ago. Stop automating. Hear me out. Everyone's rushing to automate, but automating a broken process just gives you bad results faster. Right. And so I don't think there's anything original about what I said there. Right. There's others feeling the exact same thing. And we're getting incrementally better at doing the wrong things, was one of the other comments that I made in there. And what I mean by that is like the note takers are great, right? I use a note taker. I use a bunch of note takers. And I think they're great for helping me capture what's happened. But then they help me prepare moving forward, but they're still only capturing like a point in time. And I know we're finally starting to expand where they're combing through your CRM and things like that, but they still don't have all the context. And that's really kind of where I'm going, right? Like the note takers don't necessarily, at least most of them, don't know about my brand. They don't know about me as an advisor. They don't necessarily, some of them do, some of them don't, but don't necessarily know how I communicate, right? They're likely, and this is why I'm so glad Dustin's here, likely don't have any insight on my texting communication and phone calls that are not Zooms, right? So, and there's plenty more context I could dive into, my recent marketing that I've done, like my newsletter. They just don't have all this information. It's all relevant context for how I interact. Now, are they helpful in capturing like, hey, we got some information about changes in your finances. We got some information about a large purchase you want to make. We have some other info on different goal changes, like 100%. And are they going to save you time? Absolutely. It's one of the first things I recommend somebody puts in their tech stack if they're not using one, is one of those AI assistants or note takers. 100% they're useful. They're great. I'm not knocking them. I just think we're actually in a position to do so much more. There's so much more context, and just sending it to a CRM when we could really be doing behavioral analysis, which I think is something Jump's trying to get to a little bit. I think Zeppelin's doing some insights as well. So there's a number of the providers that are going that direction. But we could start being predictive. We can start looking for what are things and trends over time that are indicating that your client's disengaging or asking questions that might be indicative of them leaving or shopping elsewhere. Right. I think there's just so much more we can do, and I can go on and on. So I'll stop. I want others' opinions. But that's kind of where I'm going. I think communication needs to be a huge part of it, and communication's a very big bucket.
Yeah. So like the core of communication, you've got calendar meetings, email, texting, phone calls, in person. So it's like no tool as of yet is like capturing all of those conversations in one place. And that's why when I saw Slant and current client, I was like, you guys have got to integrate, because the phone and texting needs to be part of the CRM experience.
Yeah, I love that. 'Cause it's an interesting moment, like hearing that, because it's, I think the one other communication piece not mentioned there, Joe, too, is the internal, like the outstanding task, what you wrote the assistant, what you haven't done for the client. Like,
Sure.
That's when it gets awesome. And as we started, there are some inferior texting tools that we integrate with right now. So we're excited to
name names, Thomas. Name
Yeah,
names.
your rep chat, the
Just
worst
joking.
software
Oh,
ever. But with that connection there, it's interesting because as we started having users who call them nudges in the system, but like it's someone's birthday, write them an email. The texts have been the most interesting of the data points, because people are suddenly, we had a customer write us and they're like, I got the best nudge ever because it mentioned that she brought like homemade bread to the office because she texted the office 3 months before about bringing homemade bread. And it was like, happy birthday. Just can't say thanks enough for that bread you brought 3 months ago. And he's like, I wouldn't have remembered that. I didn't have time to write that email. That whole like experience. If we're connected just to meeting, that's for sure not there. Meeting and tasks, we're not there, but like texting, there's a lot in that treasure trove of data that makes like the whole experience better. So
Thomas, let me ask you something. So in order to get that nudge in Slant, do you have a custom field for like bakes homemade bread?
No, that's the magic, right? That's like, it's just saying anything. That's we spend the most of any of our kind of credit usages with OpenAI. A huge one there is, okay, here, like we have a treasure trove of things. We're going to feed almost way too much to get like a really good 1-paragraph message. And that's like a very, very powerful one. So no custom field for favorite soda or did you bring bread, which is nice.
See, so that was like, that's the other point. Sorry, Joe, go ahead.
No, I was just spamming the reactions for fun. There we go. You got to talk some. You're not. You got to hear what you have to say too.
We'll get into it. I want to know. So, I guess the title of this is the future of CRM. And maybe Joe, you have a different way to like you want to approach this, but like, can we put the stake in the ground for like what you think that is, Joe or James, and then we can start tearing it apart and saying why that doesn't work or why it will, right? Like I feel like what's the anchor? What's like the contrarian view? What's like the bold claim here? And then I definitely have one of my own that I would actually love to like pick kind of my view apart, because I feel like there's two places where sort of this work can happen, and I can make my bold claim, but I don't know if that's maybe a good place to start before I start layering on like how I'm seeing it and where I'm going. Like let's make a statement here and see what this future CRM is.
Before you make your statement, can I piggyback? Because mine's related to what Thomas had just said. And then let's put that stake in the ground, and I want to hear your take. Where one of the kind of thesis of the article that I put together is that we're still using the same architecture from essentially like the very first CRM, right? We still have this very rigid table structure where we're doing contacts, activities, notes, etc. Right? We're doing all these custom fields for different things. And the reality is that we're living in a world with structured and unstructured data, and that's no longer necessary. Right. And Thomas's nudge example is a perfect use case for that. Right. You don't need a custom field to know that your client's dog's name is Sparky and it's a Cocker Spaniel. Like, that should be just something that comes up in an insight so that you have this personal connection that it surfaces and says, oh, you should ask about Sparky. He was saying he came straight from the park with Sparky last time for his meeting. So ask him how Sparky's doing, right? That's not a custom field. That's not a note, an important note up in the top that's tagged in a CRM. Like, that's the old way of doing things. And so that's where we're still making that like incremental change. Like, oh, we could add another custom field. We could surface this. We could just put AI on top of that. And it's like, no, stop storing all that structured data like that. I just don't think it's necessary. So communication, and I think the overall structure and making far better use of unstructured data and context with AI is really kind of like my angle, where like we should be building it with a different architecture, and then we should also be thinking differently about the scope of the problems we're trying to solve.
All right. Well, who wants to go
Nice.
first? What's your dream CRM?
Yeah, I don't know if I would say dream, but let me also preface all of this with
just go ahead and attack the question. What should the question be?
Here's my dream CRM is like no CRM, right? Like this, it becomes sort of like this, and that's like I think what you're alluding to, like, and I think we're having a hard time putting our finger on it because it doesn't exist yet. So it's like, who are we to kid that we know, what 5-10 years from now looks like, because these technologies are so transformative. Like if we have any ounce of situational awareness, it should be that we don't know, right? Like, and that's that big, great essay that came out of, the Bay Area, situational awareness. If you haven't like dug into that, it's really, really hard to read, but there's something here that you should at least like keep your pulse on, right? Like something is brewing, and this is changing everything. So I don't want to pretend like I know. And the other thing I would say is Jason Pereira talked when he went on to the Compound, and he did that podcast. He says, I have people come to me all the time, saying we're going to take these workflows, we're going to automate them this way and that way. And he's like, well, what workflows are you talking about? Like, you don't understand the industry if you think we just have these magic workflows that are just there, like low hanging fruit, ready to be like switched to an automation. It's like, well, no, like there's the beauty of this industry, I think, is that it's so heavy on this behavioral side, right? Of the nuance of like, it is very technical. And I think Carl Richards talks about this well, like these two sides of the industry. It's like the technical, like you better be good at planning, right? But you also be really good at like communicating and like navigating like the emotional side of money, because it's very emotional. So here's my big, with those prefaces, approaching this humbly, saying like I don't know. My view is the bedrock is either the communication, which I would say starts with the phone, because there's some technical things around owning the phone that you can't share like a Zoom call or an email. Like if you own a phone number and you can make a call with that, you are the custodian of that phone number and those communication layers that a CRM or any other tool has to integrate to, but they don't have the same way of like displaying phone calls and text messages like you can sort of like hack around email, right? Email is so easy to sort of like throw around to any system. A phone it's built on a large telephony network across the nation that is slow moving and doesn't have the same dexterity as an email server. Okay. So I say like the phone is very unique in some of the technical moat around it, that it could be a bedrock application that you stack additional workflows on top of. The other side of it, I would say, is the altruist, like Hazel approach, custodian data, right? So what's unique about the custodian? Well, they actually get the other side of that equation of like behavior, communication, planning. Well, where does the money actually, where is it? Like, what are the assets you're managing? Like, what is the actual approach? Well, that primary data is over in the custodian. So maybe that's like the bedrock application that has sort of some natural sort of a technical mode around it that you can then build as like a bedrock application, your custodian, and then put workflows on top. The CRM, I think, is in this weird little spot. And I think Jason talked about this in one of his podcasts. Like, is the CRM just kind of going to go away? Because it's kind of like, it doesn't really have any true source data. The data that it has is something that like someone, point and clicked and saved to them, but they didn't inherently capture that or store that at like the deep level of like bedrock data, right? So that's my big claim is like current client is a little bit of a sleeper in that we're building a phone, but also like because we own the phone, we now have like a mission critical application that also has like the source data for very and it could become like a true assistant that has the power to reach and engage with clients in a unique way that the CRM can't, or maybe the custodian can't. And then the custodian, obviously, look at Hazel, what they're trying to do. So where does the CRM live? What is the future of the CRM? I think it either has to be excellent at bringing both contexts together, or maybe it just doesn't even have a spot anymore because one of these sides just builds heavier, and now you have like your phone app with altruist. Boom. Those things are now talking together. You have all of your communication layer there. And then you put in your planning software on top, or these point solutions to manage insurance or do tax planning. But like bedrock communication and custodian, like that, I feel like is the perfect storm of behavior and planning together.
So only one of us is building a CRM. So what are your thoughts on that, Thomas?
Yeah, I mean, I think I like hearing that take. It's good. I would say what we've seen, Pageport was an interesting playground for us. On like 1,000 advisor users, grew quickly. We found that the thing that people loved doing in there more than anything, it wasn't making the video or anything. It was tasks. Like, where do tasks live? Mm-hmm. Becomes like a huge sticking point in any group. It's like, where do I write down that I have to call them, or where do I say I'm going to do this? And when the SEC comes knocking, where do I go and pull the report of everything I've done for them? That seemed to be, that's like the current, I'd say the old CRM, its stickiness and market adoption is purely based on, well, we need to put everyone somewhere, and we need to have a place to go if we get audited, like where I have the answer of what we did. And so those, when you like look at those two jobs to be done, Clayton Christensen, right? Like, okay, if those are the only jobs to do, like, then I think the CRM goes to the wayside, right? If it's just like, what's the compliance log? Well, like, I have every email here and every text and phone call on current client, and I'm good. Like, that's everything I did. And then, or if it's, I just have to get my tasks done, like maybe the world goes to Monday.com or Asana, and it's like project management is the real CRM. And our take is people want to do that in a lot of that in one place, right? It's like, I want to manage my projects. I want to know what I have to get done. I want to click the button if I get audited to download it all. And when I'm interacting with, I'm doing a task for someone, I do want to see financial account balances. I do want to see the text thread and have all those answers. So I think there's an interesting, I was at Advise AI, and it felt like the directions seem to be for that question. Okay, I need to go to a more modern CRM. Slant had a lot of interest there. Or I need to subscribe to a new vendor who's committing to saying, I'm going to combine everything, concatenate all this data, give you your data lake to you go use our AI, someone's AI application or another person's, and we're going to feed the data in one spot. So it feels like that's the two trend lines. Like, hey, make the place you do all the work the spot, or keep doing your work in crazy places, and we'll like make it all one place for you, and you're going to use AI to get magic workflows done. And so
I think that's what some of the AI assistants are trying to do. Right. But I didn't really broach this, I don't think, in the article, but the AI assistants are doing great with obviously the meetings prep and follow up. They're pretty good there. Now they're generating tasks based on that and capturing data. They're starting to feed them to different tools like financial planning tools. And now, just in the past week or so, Orion announced, Denali AI. And so, they're the first major player. I mean, I would argue that, Hike and Pete and now George at Arca have been doing AI and portfolio data for a while, but now we finally have like a major enterprise, player putting an AI platform out there that actually works beyond just their products and applications, which is interesting, right? I really thought when it was going to come out, it was going to be like Orion only. And the fact that they're like, you could plug in other CRMs like Salesforce and stuff, it was kind of an oh shit moment for me. Like, ooh, okay, this is a big deal. But where I'm going is the portfolio side was disconnected from the CRM side. And when we talk about communication, relationship, and really thinking bigger and going 10x, not 2x, it's the whole thing. You don't get to carve out these different slices. Like the relationship is all of it. It's the performance and results data, right? It's the asset allocation. It's the tax consequences. It's the financial plan. It's the legacy planning, right? It's the meetings. It's everything. And so when the note taker is just doing one part and integrating with the CRM, and the CRM, maybe it has whole, current positions or something, like that's not enough. And we should be capable of doing that right now. So that's kind of where I'm going with this whole thing, is that like I think there's a lot more. And I think the near term, like maybe what I'm envisioning, no single vendor is going to put together, but I see a current client plus a Slant, possibly, and I know Slant has a lot of its own AI workflows, but possibly another like AI assistant in there as well that's got some like broader functionality. And now you're plugging into all those different systems, right? So in the short term, it's an integration play and a partnership. In the long term, somebody either acquires this tech or builds this tech, but it's getting the phone, it's getting the in-person meetings, it's getting all of that. And then the last thing I'll say is there's a concept of invisibility. Too many products are trying to compete for the user's actual attention on a screen. And while there's a need for centralized data, I really like the idea that like I can use voice or text to jot down my thoughts, to generate tasks, to add contacts, to prep me for a meeting. Hey, I'm about to meet with Thomas at Slant. Can you prep me and tell me what we talked about last time? And in 30 seconds, I get a prep for my call that's coming up. I like that. I didn't need a user interface. It could come back to me in a text message. Right. So like, I think too many people are focusing on like building new tech with these cool interfaces. And then it's just another app for me to use. But if you're more seamless and invisible, maybe that's not the CRM, but like the other tech or the other functionality, if it's more seamless and invisible and it's just where I am, I think that's a really powerful way to think about things.
Oh, yeah.
How do we make this more invisible?
That's like a Max and I project that will hackathon someday. Is you should be able to call Slant on your drive to work. It's like, okay, what's on the calendar today? Who's coming in? What do I need to know? Are any of them, what's down today? Are any of them allocated in it? Okay, boom. You're ready. That'd be a fun drive to work. So
yeah,
I mean, let's imagine you have 3 monitors in front of you. On your left monitor, you've got current clients, you've got calls and texts. On your right monitor, you have altruist, so you've got all your accounts. What would be on your middle monitor? And based on what Dustin's saying and what James is saying, like our understanding of CRM is what you'd have on your middle monitor. It would be, where do I do things? Where do I chat with my AI? Where do I look up client information? Where do I pull all this data together so I can do something with it? Whether that's a CRM or some sort of AI overlay thing, like that's what I picture, like the future of CRM.
Well, and I'll just say, like, the kind of straw manning my position as like current client is, it's kind of like, wait, like what is my phone system doing, kind of acting sort of like a workflow management tool? Like it's not expected. And so that's our challenge of like, maybe that doesn't make sense for us to build, because it's good enough for us just to be a really great phone built for this industry. And it's an N of one, because there's no other phone system that has only said, I'm only going to build for advisors. So like, and this is something I go back in talking to Michael Kitces, as kind of an advisor to us. He
Ever heard of him?
Yeah, he's pretty cool. And he like in our conversation rounds where current client goes, he's like, yeah, I'm like, we could do this or that and do this and this workflow and that thing. He's like, you're good enough just to be a really good phone, Dustin. Like, just go be a really good phone that handles the compliance side and the integration really well. And like, you're good enough just to live there. And like that's probably all you really need to focus on, right? So where does like a Slant come in? I do feel like that is the middle monitor, and Wealthbox, your Redtails, your Practifys, your Advisons. Like there's other players. I think Slant, like in talking to them a few days ago, like I think they're going to be able to create environment where the communication data can come live in a way that then can be fed at like a really good base, like structured level, so that they can be sort of the intermediary. So I do feel like that is like the near future, is something like a tool like that, or Netflix, like, it's either going to be like Slant, CRM, like, or some sort of, or like,
or LinkedIn. You can have
Netflix.
LinkedIn on the middle monitor when
Yeah,
you in your
there we go.
custodian and phone on the other.
So,
Your AI is
yeah,
doing all the hard work, so you just have YouTube on the middle monitor. Is probably the
There we go.
yeah. So just thinking about like, okay, well, why is current client on one monitor and like the custodian on the other? Well, there's some very technical reasons for that. Like the phone has to live somewhere. You can't share that around like an email server. Like there has to be one company that is the custodian of the phone. And then obviously the money has to live somewhere. So your Fidelity, your Schwab, your Altruist, like it actually just has to live somewhere. You can't be like, oh, I'm going to switch my money from Altruist over to Schwab because like it's better and do that in an afternoon. You can't do that, right? This massive lift. Phones are also, you don't want to just switch your phone in an afternoon. Like there's this weight to it, and you don't want to switch that out just easily. So that's where I do feel like those are the two sides. Where we don't have great visibility is like we don't do Zoom calls now, right? Like we don't do in-person meetings, so, and we don't do email, right? Like we're just calling, texting as like initial layers. But yeah, what does that future look like? It's got to be the connective tissue to those two sides of it: the behavior, the communication, and the custodian.
Yeah, I want to mention Megan's comment because she left us a comment. I want a visual into the client lifecycle with me. What gates have they already gone through? What's on the horizon? What is important to them at this stage of life? So there's two things I picture reading that comment. I don't know. Have you guys seen Pipe Drive, where they have like each relationship is literally a timeline with like phone calls and emails, like all spaced
I use
out?
Pipe Drive. That's my CRM. Yeah.
Okay. And then the other thing is like a projection lab, like a planning software that shows life, which I have an interesting thought on this, but like accumulation, and then, the money goes down. Like every planning software basically looks like that. What if there was a way to visualize a client's life like as a timeline, but not just about how much money's in their bank account? Like,
yes,
like this is my life, and I want to plan my life, but my life has a whole lot more to do than just what's the balance of my bank account.
A little more humanization of it.
Yeah, you want like, we talk about this, Max and I, like you want some version. I think there's two versions that I haven't thought about the whole client life cycle. It's fun now because we added prospecting, and now we're getting all this data on how people start with someone, not just enter as a client. Like, oh, you input their data and when they become a client. Now it's like, okay, you use Dave Ramsey leads, or you use the AI prospecting tool, and like you have the whole journey if the system's well built. But Max and I've thought a lot about what is like Spotify Wrapped for an advisor to their clients every year kind of thing. Like, could you at the end of, like, you could make some beautiful visual and like, here's everything we did for you this year, and here's like when you started working with us and how many meetings we've had. Like, obviously it's a little kitschy or gimmicky, the initial version of that, but I think there's a version that's like beautiful and helps the client be like, wow, I do get a lot of value, and it's totally worth paying those 80 bips or whatever it is. Like, I think there's some version of that, but yeah, seeing a life is interesting, and maybe predicting, okay, like this is usually like, hey, we've looked at 100 of your household relationships over 10 years. This is usually the point where they're with you forever, or they go choose the guy next door. Like, time to double down and like nail this relationship. Like, that's a cool.
So I like that. I like this idea. Like, it's making me think about a couple of different things. And one, I'm going to give a shout out to. Are you guys familiar with the product Beyond Will? It's a little bit new. Justin Deha is behind that. So
I don't think I've demoed it.
Yeah, so it's one of those estate planning and legacy type of tools, but the real differentiator that they have is that there's a real humanization to it, right? Like they encourage you to record different snippets for your heirs to like learn about, like, what books are you reading now that you enjoy? What are, record a recipe that, you love, of something you love to make. Like, so they're trying to capture, sure, there's the legal aspect of it and estate planning and where's my dollars going to go and what am I going to do from a philanthropy, if you're one of those people who has enough standpoint. But there's also the human part of it. Like, what will my children and grandchildren know about me and retain about me? What do I want to share with them? And I love that they're a product that's trying to bring humanization to it. So I think that's kind of where Joe started and where you just took us to, Thomas, was like, what if we humanize this more? What if we double down on the relationship piece? What if we help deepen that relationship by showing you, like, here's what we did for you. We care, right? This is what we're doing for you. It's not all about basis points, right? It's about what we're trying to protect for you. It's what we're trying to grow for you. It's the life we're trying to give you. You told us you wanted to do this, and we're helping you get there. And so I like that as an idea. The second place it brought me might take us on a completely different tangent, might be its own podcast. But I was just speaking at a conference yesterday, and we were talking a lot about AI. And in January, was it Thomas Goodson? I'm totally spacing on his company, but very large company, made a prediction that like 80% of advisors are going to be replaced by AI. Basically, all of the kind of wealth in the middle, they're all going to be using AI tools, and it's really just going to be the ultra high net worth that are going to still use advisors. But where I'm going is, or what that makes me think about is like, okay, let's assume for a second that the financial planning, the estate planning, et cetera, are all very AI driven and solved for. We still know this industry is human, right? And relationship based. So do advisors become more like life coaches if the underlying technical aspect is something that, AI can do for you? Is it more about helping you live that life you want, giving you that report of at the end of the year, that Spotify recap of like, here's your life. Here's what we're doing for you, and helping you like live the life which you want. What do you want to do with your life? How can I help you do that? Right?
Yeah,
Like, maybe advisor change.
the best
Like
advisor
what it
gets the
is.
answer to that question. They are the
Yeah.
ones who help a person figure out, like, what do you actually want here? Okay, like money's a tool. We can find a path. Because I think that the human side of this whole equation is like, it's the inverse of that person's statement, which is like, I think it expands the amount of people that get service from an advisor. Because like, I always like to look at, if you look at the history of the business, like, it's like at some point you needed someone to help you buy a product. Like, you needed someone who could go
Yes.
get shares of Berkshire or, IBM. Like, that's why you needed an advisor. Then, okay, that became E-Trade comes out. There's a bunch of tools like, okay, you can go get things on your own. Next was, well, I can make a plan. Like, there's no way you can make a complex plan. Like, okay, great. I have Monte Carlo and I have all this stuff and I can like help make a plan for you. And now it's like, ChatGPT is gonna make you a pretty sick plan. I'm pretty sure if you give it enough inputs. Then, okay, so what's after that? Like, if I know I can go buy products on Robinhood, I know I can get a plan from, like, what's the next stage? Like, you want to talk to someone and everyone wants to be looked in the eye and be told like, you're good, you're going to retire, or here's exactly what you need to do. And it's good to know that your goal is to travel and like that we got to that point. And so that's where I think the TAM of advisor balloons. Like McKinsey did the study, we're short 70,000 people in the industry. Like, you might need way more. And you might be able, like, there's 20 million people who are set to retire without an advisor next 10 years. Like, does AI say those 20 million go use tools only? Like, I think advisors have drastically higher capacity, and most of those 20 million work with a person.
Have you guys tried the Origin AI financial advisor app? They're like, it's like Monarch Money, but it's got AI on everything.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool at first, but then like you like hit a little button and it summarizes your spending, and it's like, oh, you spent a lot this week because it's the first week of the month and you paid rent and you paid this and you paid that. And then it's like, oh, you spent 30% more on groceries this week than last week. And like, I don't even
It's
care.
way more mint Monarch than advisor.
Yeah. It's I'm gonna cancel it and go back to Monarch Money, just because Monarch Money, I know everything's correct, and I'm just using it to like keep track of everything. I don't want like a robot analyzing things and giving me useless information. I mean, it's not completely useless, but getting information on how you're choosing to live your life from a machine almost becomes useless information.
Yeah.
Like if you were chatting with a human about how much you spent on groceries last week, like that means something. But chatting with AI about how much you spent on groceries, it's like who cares?
Joe, I'd love your input, not on this podcast, but after.
Yeah.
Do me a favor, try a tool called Bountisphere.
Down to
Full
sphere.
disclosure, I advise the company, but like Bountisphere is an AI, personal finance coach, right?
Okay.
It's so I'd be curious your take since you always have hot takes on these things.
Yeah, sure.
Just thinking, like, are doctors, kind of looking at a different industry, are doctors worried about like going out of business and being replaced by like, because people are doing chat with like, hey, these are my symptoms. And I think even as much as you do this, like the work on chat, it's like, okay, now you're more educated, but you still have that sort of like,
Yes.
maybe I'm just asking better questions now when I go to the doctor. Like, hey, I
I
think
think
I
so.
know. Yeah. So for doctors, like, and this was a big thing with like radiology, right? They were like, oh, radiologists are going to be gone. And it's like, no, they're
Yep.
actually still around.
Yep.
So I feel like advisors, we always think we're like unique and like, oh, our industry has like, we're being disrupted and all this. Like, I feel like every other, or like we have so many tools. I can't believe our tech map's so big. It's like, well, go look at Martech or, go. And it's like, we're not that unique in a lot of these things of like the kind of sort of like existential crisis of like, do we exist as an industry? It's like, well, every single industry is having these same conversations. But I was just like, for me, if I think our health really matters. If you screw up your health, it's hard to have like the most fulfilling life. If you screw up your wealth, same issue, right? So I feel like there's this a little bit of this like, as good as chat gets, like I'm more educated, I'm more aware, I ask better questions, but I still want that human to be like, hey, yeah, you're gonna be fine. I know what this is. I've seen this a lot. And like, okay, now the question is like, how much of a premium do you pay to go get that human sort of like reassurance? And I think to Thomas's point of like, well, that's like the era of the solo advisor, right? Like the golden age. I think you talked about that, Thomas, in one of your posts just recently of like, now you just have more advisors, doing more of that for more people, and it lowers the entry. So that's like, and I, again, humbly, I'm not an advisor, so like, I don't know, right? Like
Yeah.
that the industry is not going to go away, but like I feel like we're not getting rid of doctors. We're not getting rid of advisors.
Yeah.
No, I think it only elevates what they're capable of doing, right?
100%.
I don't think it fully replaces them. I mean, there's like right now at least, and I don't know how AI will change. And I mean, obviously it's going to change things beyond what I can imagine, but there's a difference between knowledge and wisdom, right? And like a lot of these tools have obviously tons of data. You almost might say all the data, right? And so they have lots of knowledge and they can impart that knowledge on you, but they don't have wisdom, right? Wisdom comes with experience and like, you know, I use AI all the time as a thought partner, but it's not coming up with new ideas for me. And, maybe it could with better prompts, but there's a big difference with experience and somebody kind of knowing where to guide you, what to do, how to think differently, right? And AI is very much the average, the most logical, right? It's not designed to try and come up with something new. You have to force it that way. So I don't know. I think there's a big difference, and I think the human element isn't unnecessary. I think it's
Okay.
staying. I think these jobs will
And
stay.
That's
you zoom out like why do people pick an advisor? I think it's like usually you're at a critical moment. You're like, we got to start really knowing if we're good to retire or have a plan. I want to talk to a person about this. And then you pick someone who you like. Like so much of this business is like, man, they were the college athlete turned advisor, and I like that team, or they're
Yeah.
I knew them before, or my friend recommended them. And when you sit with them, I don't like every advisor is lying themselves. It's like we got the better returns, or we got like no way. It's like they sat with you and they're like, I trust them. I like spending time with them. I feel like it's not a chore to come to their office and talk to them. Like there's some version of I like this person in this relationship. They're going to help me with this hard problem I have. Like win-win. Like that is like, I think that's the real reason people pick an advisor. You get to some moment you're worried, and then who do you like? And so it's like they don't like talking to chat every day.
Yeah.
They like seeing you and coming to the office and getting a drink and like all that stuff. So
you know what? I'm gonna give a shout out to my accountant right now, Blake Kulik, Scottsdale CPAs. Like, I enjoy talking to my accountant.
Yeah.
Who says that? Right? And I don't know whether Blake's the best accountant, right? I don't know whether there's an accountant who could save me a few more dollars, but he's always there, always ready to answer my questions. He's been there when we've had to go through personal hardship, and I'm like, what does this mean? You know, from a tax standpoint, do you have any advice, guidance, people to connect me with? And like, so that relationship's really valuable to me. And I've told him he's my accountant for life. Like, I better die before he retires. You know, so I think it's the same with your advisor. You hope to have an advisor like that, right?
100%. Yeah, that's the reason it's good high retention thing.
Do you guys know that Steve Jobs quote, like, it's the crazy people that change the world, basically? I mean, it's a much more eloquent than that, but it's the crazy people that actually make stuff happen. Like, it's the 1%.
Here's to the crazy ones, Joe.
Yep, exactly. So if AI is always the average of all human knowledge, like AI is not going to change the world. It's the 1% of humans that are crazy that are going to change the world.
Yeah.
That's a good take.
I like that take.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I just saw Jace's comment. It's probably a while back. If we think that's relevant.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Jay, I think Jace dropped, but let's talk about it.
Yeah, like yeah, it's very interesting. What does an advisor want in all the, and I think you could expand it. He asked about challenge of a good CRM. What does the like admin or operation person want versus the advisor? It's a really different story. I wonder if that feels the same across this whole stack, this conversation.
Well, like I worked for a CRM consultant for 1.5 years, and like we taught people how to use tasks and workflows and tag people properly and tier people properly. You do all that stuff correctly, your CRM experience becomes a nightmare. Like every day you log in, you roll your tasks over from yesterday. That's a red tail feature. Now you've got like all these tasks, and sure you can put them in priority, but like it's a horrible life experience. So I just log in every day and be like, here are all my tasks, here are all my workflows. What I would love, and Slant still looks a little bit like that. I assume that eventually like you'll come up with a killer task feature, but like,
yeah,
I want like, what are my top 3 priorities for today? And then it like goes and looks at all your tasks and like bunches them. It's like,
yes,
here are the 5 tasks related to your number 1 priority today.
Helps you prioritize, helps you have clarity.
That's the reason advisors don't use their CRMs, or because CRMs are they just become a cluttered mess of
tasks.
Things.
Just saying like, do this thing. Like, yeah, the Johnsons still haven't come for an annual review. It's been 2.5 years, and you're like, I get it. Task is late. They don't answer the phone. Like,
they still pay their bills. They haven't left.
Yeah, yeah. Like, okay, it's happening. Yeah, I think it's the task interface for it's like that's so much what drives everyone's day in these things. And we've got to find a way. It's a big job for us. Like that needs to become, hey, here's what we think matters as Slant, the nudge, etc. Like go do these things that you weren't on your list. We're going to try to tee them up for you to be easy. And then at the same time, like, that'd be awesome. Like log in, like, hey, what are the biggest things you want to get done today? Okay, these are the adjacent tasks or the things that matter. Or you don't know what you got to get done. Well, we think do these 5 things today.
Well, I think I said this before we started recording, but like I wrote up a plan for an idea for a new product last night, right? With all the spare time that I had. And I just sharing like a small piece of it. It was really around, I don't want to call it time management, but kind of like behavioral change around time management. And so it was trying to rethink a better way for how do we handle the tasks in our lives. And I started thinking about how every meeting, and I'm sure this is an original concept, but like every meeting is a time commitment. There's prep and there's follow-up and there's new tasks that are going to get spawned from it. So like, why not think about that at the onset of scheduling or accepting those things? Why not like present it at that level? And why not then allocate the time moving forward so that you don't find yourself in a position where you're rolling over a dozen red tail tasks every day, right? Like if you're overcommitted the second you agree to something, then you shouldn't agree to it, right? So like, why not help? And this isn't specific to advisors, but why not help with that sort of thought process of like, treat it like a budget, right? Like, I don't know this might not be the best example, but if I buy a new suit, I have to get it tailored, right? So it's not just the cost of the suit. It's now I got to get it tailored. Now when I wear it, I have to get it dry cleaned, right? There's like additional commitments that comes with this purchase, right? Maybe a car is a better example, right? So like, I know it's not one and done. There's additional commitments to this. So it's the same thing when you take a meeting, when you agree to come on a podcast. It's not one and done.
Yeah.
And so like, why aren't we thinking about it that way? What's that?
If you look at the tech stack I shared, like how many different tools there are, every single one of those tools has a cost, has a learning curve, has a team training procedure, like has we have to interact with the client around this. Like having that many tools is an insane burden on humans.
Yeah.
I mean, it's obscene, to be honest.
Agreed. Since the whole theme of this was CRM, and I know Thomas is addressing this in yours, but I think a critical differentiator in CRM is thinking about prospecting, which is one of the things that I know, Thomas, you have in there. I think part of that, and I don't recall what you have specifically in terms of functionality, but I think part of that, you said it yourself. It's like, your client and you have to get along, right? You have to kind of like each other and respect each other. And so there should be an element in that prospecting to find and identify the prospects that are a good fit for you and your personality and your style. And then I think the other piece that I kind of think about in the same vein is for my existing clients, since that prospecting is often doing a lot of like data mining, right? You're trying to pull information from the public sphere to figure out like who they are, what their net worth is, what they're interested in, where they went to school, blah, 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 blah. I think that same thing should be true of your active clients, right?
Yes.
Like pulling in what you can about the clients you already have. So you can find out that like money in motion, you can see what's going on with their debt. Is something changing material with their debt that they haven't shared with you, right? Do they have a lot more equity in their house all of a sudden? Do they have some credit cards that they could consolidate, right? Is there just being able to keep track of different things that are going on in their life as well that you could surface that could help deepen that relationship? So I think there's two pieces, and I don't think we really dove into that. Like, why don't I try and get more data on my existing clients? And there could be some regulatory burdens there. That could be part of it. But
let's just say there's a lot of public data, and we're finding as much as we can and putting it in. It's like right now that prospecting is the best place for us to have that almost like learning curve. And then we're learning what's accurate, what's not, what do we want to show someone on the client side. Because it's awesome to think, hey, I have a client meeting 2 weeks before. We check all the public sources, and they bought a new car, or they like, what do you know? They have collections on them. Like it could be frightening or positive, but
exactly, yeah,
it's out there. There's so much out there. It's like frightening.
So the experience is truly magical. Like I type in a first name, a last name, and email. I click submit, and it already knows their age. It's just like mind blowing. It's like this person's 32 years old. It's like it hasn't even found the birth date yet, but it's like this is their age. Like how does it know their age?
Wild stuff.
Yeah, that enrichment you're doing, Thomas, is really cool. I first saw that in another CRM that's general purpose called a TO. They were doing that really good. So I'm glad to see you bringing that to us.
Addie's done a great job. It's a quality tool, and we try to learn a lot from them.
All right, guys, we've got 2 minutes left. Any closing thoughts, and we'll end on time.
Did we answer the question? Future of CRM?
The future of CRM? Yeah, man, it's the middle screen.
Yeah,
whatever's on the middle screen.
That's it. The middle screen. Somebody go build the middle screen.
Yeah, it seems like that is sort of like the thing we don't really know, right? Like I think we will figure it out, but the main takeaways for me, James, in in your post. You said like the most transformative aspect isn't adding better messaging to an existing systems. It's making communication the foundational layer of the entire platform. So thinking forward, I think there is something that needs to have the view of the calls, the texts, the emails, the in-person, the Zooms, the Googles, and then there's some connective tissue, right? Whether it's an interface or it's like a voice agent or something like, let me call Slant on my way in. And Slant is sort of this memory OS, like, or memory sort of layer of all of these pieces that are moving forward. And I think maybe the framework we think about it is, what are the jobs? Thomas, you talked about this with Clayton Christensen. What are the jobs being done? That's the labor. And then where does the labor get transformed by an intelligent agent that does the job for you?
I think it's the second brain. I mean, a lot of people talk about creating a second brain in Notion or something, but like a to-do list is a second brain. A list of all your clients is a second brain. That I feel like that's the most succinct way to think of the future of CRM is where do I keep track of all the stuff that I can't actively like store in my brain?
Yeah, that would be a good. I think that's my version of middle screen. Slant as second brain. It's like it's got to have. What do I have to do today? Who are all the people? What's everything possible about them? Like the left and right side of the screen aren't just visually there. Can I have that data live in there?
It's maybe we summarize that as chief of staff. Like chief of staff, that is what that person does. Hey, you're busy. Let me take care of these things for you. Here's your agenda for today. Go get that done. I'll take care of all the other little things. Right. So is the chief of staff built by Slant? Is it built by Altruist? Is it built by Wealthbox? Is it Jump? Is it current client? Like, I think chief of staff is on that middle screen. And I think we're moving towards that. So I'm going to get back to building a phone and run in my lane.
Thanks all for coming. This has been a blast. We'll do it again sometime.
Yeah,
that's a blast.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, see you all later.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.